All right, welcome everybody to the first ever inaugural SimplyCyberCon presented by SimplyCyber and the SimplyCyber Cafe. We have got a great conference for you today. Now, we have been doing workshops all week and we have workshops on Friday, so be sure to check those out. But today is the Con Talks. We've got 2 tracks, tons of speakers, great content. We're going to have the keynote with John Strand from Black Hills Information Security in a few moments. But let me first of all welcome all of you. If you are here, we genuinely appreciate you taking the time to be part of this conference, to get experience, to share your experiences with each other. Please be kind to everybody. If you see somebody doing something that's inappropriate, please let one of the mods know or let each other know, and we will handle that. We're not expecting any nonsense or shenanigans this morning, obviously, simply because everybody in the SimplyCyber community is epic and awesome. Couple programming notes. We do have track 1, which is here on the SimplyCyber channel and on LinkedIn. So if you are watching me right now, congratulations, you're on track 1, and that's wicked awesome. If you are interested in track 2, there is a pinned comment on YouTube, plus on the Discord server, you can access that information. But track 2 will be hosted by James McQuiggan. He is emceeing track 2 over on SimplyCyber Cafe YouTube channel and the SimplyCyber Con LinkedIn channel. So I know it's always tough to choose which track to go to. There's great talks on both track, great professionals, great experiences. All of the talks, I've been asked this several times, all of the talks will be made available on replay for free, just like the conference. So don't sweat it if you have to make a hard decision between picking which of your 2 children's sporting events to go to. You will be able to go back retroactively and see that. I want to say special shout out and genuine appreciation to all of the organizers who helped make SimplyCyberCon a reality. You guys don't understand how unbelievably complicated and how much work it takes to put even a virtual conference together. So I want to say, if you see Velda Lemke in chat, if you see the Hawk, if you see Deb Wigley, Jason Blanchard from Black Hills, they helped us quite a bit. They have a lot of experience with this type of thing. If you see Kimberly McKnight, Aaron KG, Joel Belton, Base Case, Stefan Waldvogel, Just Ben, Justin Gold, BSEC, any of them in chat, please, toss a coin to your Witcher, tip your hat, whatever it is. It's because of all their hard work and effort that we have been able to bring this amazing program to you today. So with all that, I am super excited. As I mentioned before, we're going to kick off things really going hardcore with the John Strand. Now I see squad members dropping John Strand emotes in chat. That's absolutely fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. John Strand, if you don't know, John Strand is kind of the czar over Black Hills Information Security, and through his efforts and through his culture that he pushes down at Black Hills, things like anti-siphon training has come to be a reality. Black Hills Information Security has continued to deliver value to the community, and Wild West Hack and Fest is an amazing conference that delivers value, and that is also all part of that Black Hills Information Security under the stewardship of John. John Strand is going to be giving our keynote today. I'm very, very excited to welcome him. I'm so grateful that he chose to accept the offer to come keynote for this talk. You guys are in for an absolute delightful experience. So without further ado, enjoy the conference. Let's get into the keynote. Mr. John Strand, how are you?
Doing really well, sir. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's bring your slides up on stage, and I'll let you kick off the keynote.
You bet. Thank you so much. And by the way, he's going to be the conduit or the channel, if you will, for all of you bringing me questions, because I'm down at a different office. If you look closely, you can see that there's no ceiling in this office. That's how we keep our overhead costs low at Black Hills Information Security. But I do have a doctor's appointment right after that. So I came down here and I'm not in studio, so I apologize for that. But let's jump right into making everyone mad. I wanted to come up with a new presentation for this because, all the stuff that we've done over the years, Jerry, and now I didn't want to just be like, well, let's just do a canned presentation. So I thought I'd come up with a presentation that was definitely in line with kind of the goals and objectives of SimplyCyber. And I thought it would make everyone mad. Make everyone mad with there are no entry jobs in security. And I want to jump straight in. And before you get all frustrated with this, stick to the end. There's going to be a hopeful message where we bring it all together with love and care and kindness at the end. But let's jump in. A lot of you are feeling this. I see this all the time in the comments of Black Hills Information Security, our Discord server, YouTube videos. There's 1 million jobs out there that need to be filled. Now, this may be true, right? And I actually kind of think it is, honestly. If we're looking at the overall industry, I do believe that we need probably 1 million people globally for defending networks. Now, why do I believe this to be true? We're getting our asses kicked, right? Like, Mr. Cooper breach, the Okta breaches. I shouldn't say that it was breaches of Okta per se, but the breaches using Okta. We're seeing cloud technologies that just keep moving faster and faster and faster. We never got core technologies down, right? Like we never got to the point where we can defend an endpoint in an Active Directory environment with the traditional firewall architecture. But, screw that. We're going straight to the cloud. Technology is moving fast. The attackers have no problem keeping up with the rate of technological change. And we're seeing news stories that bear this out every single week on Black Hills Information Security is talking about news. And this is awesome if you're already in the system. I started in this system back in 1999, 2000. So I've been in this system for 23 years, right? So for me, starting up a company, I have people that are like, oh, how did you start Black Hills Information Security? I got lucky. I started a company at the right time in the right industry where I could help shape what the industry was going to be. I got lucky. I'm not good at running a company, I don't think. I got lucky. And I'm saying that because there's a lot of people in this industry that like to look down on people and say, well, the kids these days, and whether it's Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, it just changes with the times. They just don't put the work effort in that we put in. And that's absolute garbage. A lot of times when people are successful, they like to justify that success because the cruel reality of I got lucky and I was able to take advantage of situations that were presented to me is effing terrifying. It's much better just to say, well, I'm really, really good and I'm brilliant. That's why I am where I'm at. I don't believe that. I believe I got very lucky. I was in at the ground floor and I was able to do what I wanted to do in the industry. So looking at that now, if I look out at the industry and I look at somebody that wants to get started in computer security, oh my gosh, it is kind of a nightmare getting started, right? If you want to get started, you have a degree, you don't have a degree, maybe you have some experience, your help desk, trying to get that job is tough because everyone's looking for unicorns, right? If you see this, if you can comment in YouTube, like how many of the jobs that you go in to interview for or looked at when you were starting to get started in computer security, they want unicorns, right? It's an entry-level job, but they want 5 years experience. You've got to know Python and PowerShell. You've got to understand pen testing techniques. I had somebody that was getting started and they went in for a SOC job and they were like, well, we're going to go through various, squares in the MITRE ATT&CK technique matrix. And we want you to describe, what application shimming is. Coming out of college, what the hell? Like what? You're going to sit and you're going to talk about application shimming and how that, okay. That's kind of a bit crazy, but these teams do this, right? They do this and they perpetuate this hell on new people that are coming in because they are looking for the unicorns, right? If you're trying to get a job in SOC, they're like, we need you to know forensics. We need you to know the common body of knowledge from the ISC squared group, right? Like, holy crap. And then they say we're going to pay you like $65,000 or $60,000. And there's little to no training to try to ramp you up from going to that entry level up to making more money and doing more within the organization. This is stupid. It's worse than stupid. It's actually abusive. It's highly abusive. And I have theories, and I'm going to get to that later on in the slide deck as to why the hell this happens. Like, why is the industry doing this? And part of me gets into the concept and the discussion of fungibility, where if you look at the number of jobs, let's say we have 1 million jobs, and we look at the number of people that are out there trying to get into computer security, a lot of companies have been trained, if you wait long enough, you're going to find that unicorn. You're going to find the kid that was in college where they went through PowerShell, they went through Python, they got good at development, they sucked into pen testing, they went into forensics, they did all of these things, and they're willing to come out of college and work for $50,000 because they have to get their foot in the door, right? If you go on Discord, which you shouldn't, by the way, but if you go on Discord and you look at a lot of the chats, there's always a question that pops up about once a month. This job is crap. The hours are horrible. The pay is awful, but I think I should take it to get my foot in the door in the industry. And almost universally, people are like, yes, take that job. But let's look at a SOC role. And I'm picking on SOC because many people start in a security operations center, right? And they say that it's entry level. Okay. For this entry-level job, you have to know Windows internals. How are dynamic link libraries loaded into executables? How does Microsoft handle the heap versus the stack? You'll talk about ROP exploits, right? How do these ROP exploits or pop-up returns, structured exception handling attacks, how do these work? You kind of got to know some of that from Windows internals perspective to understand how services are invoked, how processes run, how network connections are made with malware walking ntdll.dll. You have to know these things. And the reason why you have to know these things is you've got to know to differentiate what is malware and what is not malware. Unfortunately, a lot of malware looks a lot like not malware in the way that it actually processes and executes because it's using a lot of the exact same methodologies that regular software would use to run. Now, that's not something that's like, well, here's 2 hours on this. This is tough. I deal with this in my Pay What You Can classes. I'm going to add in a Windows internals for SOC analysts for my class. God help me. But I have to do it. Have to know networking. If you don't understand ports and services and how DNS works, because it's always DNS, and how DNS utilizes the domain controller in many environments as its primary resolver, and then that does the resolution, forwarding it out. Just DNS alone is a lot. Understanding how switches and routers work. What is a span port? What does an ARP cache poisoning attack look like? Getting to layer 2 attacks, link local multicast name resolution. Not necessarily layer 2, but like WPAD. And how does web proxy auto detection work for the application that's going to get your proxy config for a pack file to your systems? Yeah, you got to kind of know that, right? Know current attacks as they're coming up with, CISA and MITRE, and they're coming up with new variations of different attacks. You got to keep up with that stuff. And a lot of that stuff, by the very nature of it, is absolutely cutting edge. And a lot of those techniques are really scary, complicated, but good luck. You're an entry-level SOC analyst straight out of college. Go get it. No Active Directory, right? Got to know Active Directory. How does Kerberos work? Because if we're going to talk about Kerberosing, you got to know how Kerberos works, and that ain't easy. I mean, I've talked to Tim Edine multiple times on how he developed Kerberosing. I get the technical mechanics, but how was his head wired to find that? Still lost on me, how he decided to go down that rabbit hole. But he knew Active Directory really, really well. If you're going to be defending Active Directory, you're kind of going to have to know Active Directory. Log sources being added all the time, right? We got crap coming in from the cloud constantly. Oh, Microsoft is changing the formats of the log, so it breaks all of your detections. Sucks to be you. You get to now rewrite a whole bunch of signatures, and you don't understand quite how these signatures work because you're fresh out of college. And they're like, we want you to go and write these signatures for ArcSight. Yay, okay. Oh, you screwed it up? Oh, you crashed the entire ArcSight cluster because your signature was too intensive on the cluster. Oh my God. Okay, once again, straight out of college. Okay, now you got to know your EDR, right? That may be the easiest thing out of this. But the problem with the EDR is every time the EDR comes up with a finding, and it's like, hey, you might want to look at this dynamic link library that's being loaded. It might be malicious. We're right back to having to know all the things that are above to be able to make a determination that it's malicious. So my question is, how in the hell is this entry level? Right? Look at all of these things and then say that this is just something that we expect somebody who's fresh out of college to be able to understand this and work this through in a full domain environment with thousands of users. The reason why it's entry is because it sucks. Going through and doing all of this is hard. It's tedious. It's monotonous. And the people that have been doing it for years look at this and are like, yeah, this doesn't look like fun. Let's give it to the FNG, right? Let's give it to that fine new guy. And we're going to let that individual do this job, not because it's easy, not because it's basic, but because it sucks. All right. Why does it suck? Couple of things. Ticket volume, right? Tremendous amount of tickets coming through. And that may be easy to deal with technically, right? Like you can go through and you can configure a signature. You can configure a detect to like kind of flush out the things that you don't want in. I'm trying to avoid the word or the phrase false positive, but you have all these tickets coming through for the service that's accessing all of these things. And you want to modify that detect so you aren't getting so many tickets. But the problem if you're editing the tickets is it relies on others to improve your life. So you go to the systems administrators, you say this particular service is generating a large number of false positives. We want to go through and we want to tune this detect to basically filter out these quote unquote false positives, and it goes into an effing black hole. No response from the systems administrators. Are you working at a MSP? Congratulations, you now kick that over to a customer saying, hey, we need you to let us know if it's okay if we put in this rule to filter out these thousands of tickets that we're getting. And it goes to the absolute bottom of their priority queue because, spoiler, they don't care, right? You're at the bottom of the heap. You're going to be dealing with all of these tickets, and your life is completely dependent on more senior people in the organization and other people within the organization authorizing changes to detects and architecture. And it is absolutely at the bottom of the queue because it doesn't improve their life. It improves your life, but they don't care. Also, training SOC analysts, that costs money. We're lucky at Anti-Siphon and with our SOC because I literally own a training company. So I get a little bit of a discount through Anti-Siphon, but that's really lucky for us, right? But for other companies, just going to throw this out there, a lot of other companies, if you start as a SOC analyst, they have zero interest in paying for your professional development. I know this because before I started the SOC at Black Hills Information Security, and even after, I would sit with our customers on the pen testing side, and we would go through and we would help interview new MDR solutions, SOC solutions for our customers. And one of the questions I asked all of these MDR companies, all of these different MSPs was, what do you do to train your analysts? And the vast majority of them, the vast overwhelming majority of them are like, well, they get access to the training documents for our EDR, and that's about it. Do you send them to cons? No. Do you send them to SANS training? They started laughing at me because that's like $8,000. Who's going to put that much money into a SOC analyst? Come on, they're literally there just to soak up tickets, right? So it's a cost center, and for a lot of these companies, they're trying to keep their costs as low as they can for their security operations center. And if all of a sudden you start training SOC analysts, what do SOC analysts do? They leave because dealing with tickets all the time sucks. Another thing about being a SOC analyst is lawyers and bad days. I was going to go into law. This gets into a really long story that involves like some famous legal cases in the 90s. But at any rate, I was talking to a very, very famous lawyer, and he told me not to go into law. And he said, don't go into law because you don't ever have a day where a customer comes in and says, the most wonderful thing happened to me. I decided to divorce my spouse. Like, there's always drama. There's always fights. There's always bad things. And when you're a SOC analyst, you're at the bottom of the heap. You're constantly getting beat up. And also, people hate you in the company because you look and smell a lot like help desk, right? It's never a good time when the SOC analyst calls somebody like, hey, we noticed that totally not porn.exe is running on your computer. I'd like to ask you a few questions. No one likes that, right? So with all of this is all technical. How is this entry level? This is all political. How in the hell is this entry level? I don't know, right? Like if we're looking at people getting into this industry, I feel a lot of times for me, whenever I'm teaching my intro to SOC core skills, we do it pay what you can. We get all of these people that are really excited to get in computer security. And I feel like I'm leading them into a freaking slaughter. Like they dream of being pen testers. They dream of being forensicators, and then they get stuck with tickets. I feel guilty about this for the people that I train because these are the jobs that they're getting. But the thing that blows my mind is no matter how bad these jobs are, they're still better than a lot of the jobs that involve washing dishes, waiting tables, working construction, and doing line cook. But we shove people into it constantly, just constantly. I guess what I'm trying to say is there are no entry jobs in security. There just aren't, right? And I know that this is really hard because there's a lot of people that are trying to crack and get in. But seriously, what role would be entry based on the knowledge and experience that's required? I just went through a SOC analyst. That's not easy, folks. It isn't. My heart goes out to SOC analysts, right? And, talking with my SOC analysts, going to their meetings, talking about what they need, they constantly need more training. They need more guidance. And we're trying our best to give it to them and try to keep up and trying to be a good company. But I'm looking at this entire thing, and doing it right is hard. Doing it right takes commitment. Doing it right takes time. Doing it right requires listening to your SOC analysts, something that I think I can always do better. But it's hard. It's a really hard job. Okay, so is pen testing an entry-level position? Are you freaking kidding me? Literally giving people a cyber-loaded gun and saying, just shoot at my network, somebody straight out of college. Oh, dear God. Forensics? Oh, awesome. You're going to get somebody junior right out of college. You're going to put them in a role that they could possibly be testifying in court and cost a company millions of dollars, or communicating with an insurance board and then just screwing up, saying the wrong thing, costing a tremendous amount of money. Compliance, GRC, you want to talk about a hated position in security. People hate compliance officers, right? It's constant fight. And to do well at compliance, you have to know all of these different components of computer security. And you have to know them fairly well and how they relate to reality. Security architect, designing security, no effing way. When I put somebody who is junior into an architect position, because they will literally gravitate to the flashiest, most expensive product out there because that marketing makes sense and they sell it specifically for people who do not understand what they're doing, and they're going to fall for marketing hype. All right. We created this. By we, I mean me, right? By me, I mean my entire generation of security people. We created this because we came up in a world where it was sink or swim. I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. I'm just telling you this is how we came up, right? Let's blame Gen Xers for this one, right? And the boomer generation. Like literally, we were standing up computer systems when people didn't even understand what computer systems were. When I got started, I had a bunch of people that were livid that they were getting new computer systems that had mice, because the mice slowed them down. They did everything with just a keyboard and an old CRT terminal. They had no mouse for anything that they did, and we were dealing with that. And what I mean, and what I'm trying to get at is everything was magnets and miracles. It was constantly changing IT infrastructure. We were literally making it up as we went along, and this entire industry came to sink or swim. Either you did really well and you could stay in computer security, you could stay in IT, or you sunk and you got out of it as quickly as possible and you got into real estate in 2006. And pop quiz, how did that turn out for them, right? And that bred a tremendous sense of elitism in the industry, right? We have a bunch of people in this industry today, once again, myself totally included in this, where we look at people that are coming up and they're like, well, of course, SOC analyst is going to suck. Because in my day, back in 1999, 2000, 2003, 5, whatever, I had to put up with this much crap in my job, and I didn't have any training because the training didn't exist. I didn't have any of these different things for my job. So we perpetuate this onto other people. One of the analogies I have for this perpetuation kind of this disease is like cancer. Imagine if they came up with a cure for cancer today and people immediately complained and they said, well, I lost my mom to cancer. It doesn't seem fair to me that you shouldn't lose your mom to cancer too. So we perpetuate these ills. We perpetuate the BS that we deal with just because we dealt with it. And we think that it makes us better. We think that it makes us superior. And when that starts to happen in the older generation, we do everything that we can to try to maintain that status quo. And I'm using the royal we, okay? We have an inherent justified distrust of higher education, right? Dakota State University, I've seen them do a great job. Western Governors University, I think I got that right. We've got a bunch of people we've hired from them. They do a great job. But what you're seeing in these smaller universities is they have nimble systems where they can update their curriculum to meet the changing technology at a high rate of turnaround. And that's important because the larger schools don't. You still have larger schools that are teaching like really bad C code or COBOL or, God help us, Java, right? And then continuing this mess that we created, cash cow training is stupid expensive, right? Insert whatever company or organization that you want to look at in that. They looked at all of this concept of elitism as a place where they could charge companies, charge the government, charge organizations tens of thousands of dollars for training. And they kept raising the rates again and again and again because that money was paid. And we all paid it as we built this industry because it was literally your only effing ticket to move up the ladder, to become more elite, to get higher on the pecking order in computer security. This sucks. This entire system is broken. The entire system needs to be completely just taken away. So I've got some solutions. Solution one, kill multiple guest certifications. Just burn them down with fire. I'm going to be very mean. Any certification out there, and yes, I'm calling out some very big players in this industry. If it's a multiple guest certification, it needs to be destroyed with fire. It just has to be. And the reason why is multiple guest certification, like tests, have never been good. The only thing that they're good at is checking to make sure that somebody understands the vocabulary of the industry. And that's where I'll give the CISSP a slight pass, because I look at the CISSP as like, this is the binding language and terminology that we use. Do you know these terms? There's some value in that when we're all sitting around having a conversation. The whole having X number of years of experience before you get your CISSP is total complete garbage. It goes back to this point of elitism, right? And the reason why certifications do this, whether it's computer security or engineering or anything, is if all of a sudden anybody can get in, then it devalues the people that have been in here the longest. So you want to create this industry, right? If you're creating engineering or if you're creating security or law, I'm not going to go with medical because that's different, but like law, any of these things, like a lot of people could get the knowledge they need to be a lawyer online. A lot of these people could get the knowledge they need to be a security professional online, and they can do that. If you look at an industry where ChatGPT can ace a certification test, that's probably something that's ripe for being completely overrun. So it focuses on memorization. It does not translate to skill. And literally, if you're looking at multiple choice, go look at the history of this. But the history of this, the Army initially tried to implement it to try to break down intelligence of officers that are coming in. And they found out that there was no correlation to how somebody performed in battle and how they did on a multiple choice test. Who knew, right? But at the point that they made that determination, it had already started being ingrained, and it looks like a really simple qualitative way or quantitative way to try to determine skill in areas, and it has no correlation to how well somebody's actually going to do. And it also builds into teaching to the tests, right? And I've seen this firsthand where certification runs forever, and there's pushback to remove test questions because they have to now come up with new test questions, and that requires money and that requires effort. It's just bad. We need to kill them. So the solution number 2 is normalize cyber ranges, especially free cyber ranges. If you're looking at like Hack the Box or Try Hack Me, we have our own certification. So this is somewhat self-serving, and ACE-T and Anti-Siphon. We don't have a certification that's multiple choice. all of our certification in ACE-T is completely predicated on how do you perform in a cyber range with more or less real world scenarios. Because I have seen at Black Hills Information Security a much better correlation of skills in that regard. More pay what you can training. SimplyCyber with what they're doing, bringing down the barriers, burning gates, burning these horrible gates that exist that restrict people from entering the field, people that are good people that have the skills. We need more of this training. That's out there, a low cost training. I would put that out there as well. Looking at the Cyber Mentor and some of those things, just fantastic, right? We need more of this training. We need more of these, just saying, hey, you did really good on a free cyber range. You should be getting an interview based on that. And solution number 4, and this comes for everybody that's in my generation, we need to stop being a-holes. Sure, we had to rebuild Linux systems from the kernel up, right? Sure, I had to go and build Windows 2000 and Windows NT boxes with duct tape, baling wire, hopes and dreams. And somehow we think that because the younger generation doesn't have to do that, that they're not as good as we are. And that needs to stop, right? The next generation of people are going to do things that I never did. Like they're going to have to do things in the cloud that I never had to interact with. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. There's nothing wrong with that. We always get into this thing where like, well, I know something you don't know, then therefore I'm better than you. Or as people look up to people that have been doing this a long time in the industry and they say, well, John knew this esoteric weird attack from 2003. I had never heard of that. Therefore he must be smart. And we need to break that down because a fool can ask more questions than a wise man can answer. The inverse is also true. A wise man can ask more questions than a fool can answer. So this is kind of the gist of my talk. We need to start fundamentally changing things in the industry. I'm going to stop sharing right now and jump back over to the live stream. We need to change the way that this is done. And with what SimplyCyber is doing, try harder. Guys, I want to be honest with you. I love the OSCP. I love what they're doing there. I think it's a great certification, but their whole motto of try harder needs to be yeeted out into the goddamn sun. It's elitist to the absolute maximum. I think it's better to say, hey, how can I help you on that? So this, I hope, kind of matches with what we're talking about for this con. But seriously, if you're in my age group, do better. If you're in the younger age group, you're going to have to work your ass off. I am sorry. I'm going to try my best to try to fix this in the ways that I can. But we need to start getting people into a position in their companies, in their roles where they can affect change. Just because things sucked for you doesn't make it okay. Just because things sucked for you doesn't mean that everybody has to go through the exact same pile of dead effing bodies to get to where you're at. So when you get to that position, you need to start pushing your HR departments and saying, hey, we need to accept cyber ranges as a certification. We need to break down the barriers as much as we possibly can. We need to start putting our people through pay what you can training, cheap and affordable training, rather than continuing to go to the cash cow cybersecurity certifications out there. We need to break this down. You're going to have to work your ass off. I'm sorry, but you would have to anyway. You would have to anyway, everybody. But I think that we just need to be more realistic of what is an entry-level role, and we need to better equip our people moving forward. So that was my talk. Was there anything you wanted to add to that, kind of going through it?
Yeah, no, so based on everything I'm seeing in chat, a couple people had questions, which we might have time for one that I think, could kind of capture like what the general vibe was. 100% agree with you, John. I say the same things. One of the things I told you off stage before we came on that I think really resonates here is there's no easy button. Like learning all of these things and grinding and doing the ranges and passing them and understanding what you're talking about, that's just prepping you, because when you get into industry, you're going to have to be working your butt off. There's no, you don't like climb the mountain and then throw a lawn chair down and chill out. Like now the work really begins, right?
Yes, absolutely. But I also think that, for like you and me and a lot of us, I think that we get very caught up, and like I'm talking about our generation of influencers or it's thought leaders or whatever the hell we are, right? We're very much attracted to the new, hot, cool technique. And that tends to be what we talk about. And I'm going to try to go back and really try to focus on some of these core fundamentals like Active Directory, Windows internals, the stuff that you and I learned years ago.
Yeah.
But it's going to be like, you know what? Really, people need to learn this stuff as well. So yeah, I think that that's one of the things that we can do. And I know in like your hundreds of videos, there's a lot of basic core fundamentals in there. And we've got to try to find a better way to try to pull those things out as well.
Yeah, I mean, it just, I mean, even thinking about the challenges that we're dealing with in industry in general, you can blow off your awareness training deck from 2007 and it's probably still applicable today. Don't have crappy passwords, patch your systems, don't do dumb stuff, right? Like, bad guys don't need to do the advanced stuff. The dumb stuff still works. And that's why it's a job.
The other thing that I'm going to tell is you were talking about people have to work their butts off. We are now entering into a phase where you have no right with all of these free resources like the YouTube channel that we're on now, like what we're doing with our webcast at Black Hills Information Security. It's going to get harder whenever you get into an interview. And I'll say with the younger generation that's coming in, if they're like, oh, I don't know, they never covered that in school, people aren't going to accept that. Like there is so many opportunities to learn security. We are truly in the golden age of cybersecurity learning. We just got to get companies to catch up and start recognizing these alternative learning models and like coming up with better ways of trying to ascertain what is that skill level of that individual that isn't some weird multiple choice test.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So it looks like we're right at time. We won't have the next speaker is lined up, and he's going to be talking about mental health in cybersecurity, in pen testing specifically. So I actually think that that rolls perfectly coming off of John's keynote. Everybody in chat, I know we can't have John hear us clapping, but if you could drop some clapping emotes. John, thank you so much for kicking off SimplyCyberCon's inaugural conference. It was a great talk. Really appreciate you taking the time to be with us, and we'll bid you farewell, sir.
Honored to be here. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the con.